This is another team fight that we were asked to analyze here. We'll go ahead and do that. Okay, so let's get some information about the game state. Good KP again, in Diamond again. 4 squads, question mark left, so that means that there's less than 10 players. You guys are a full team. There's probably only one other full team in the game right now. Everybody else is probably a rat or duos. Round 4, you guys are on the edge of zone, it looks like here. Not sure if the building's in or not. You look to be pretty good on equipment. Again with car PK. It's interesting that you run car PK because that basically limits you to really close effective range. Like, of course, the car can beam in medium ranges, but you do limit yourself a lot in what you can actually. It's an interesting loadout. I like the loadout, but let's hope you actually like continue to play it to your strengths. I mean, you have like really high kills, so I would assume you do. Okay, so you guys wipe that fight. There's another team coming. Good. Okay.
Come down. Come to the building, please.
Let's just go ahead and give this a watch through first.
He's gonna drop on us. Don't. No.
There's one.
Puff is low. I'm rezzing this guy again.
I'm not with you, by the way.
I'm so annoyed. Fucking trash.
Okay.
Oh shit, I'm bad.
Oh, that's unfortunate.
Okay.
So the biggest thing I actually want to take from this fight, I already talked to you about team play. We're not going to reiterate that fact here. Okay. So game state. Let's analyze the game state. The biggest thing that goes through my brain is analyzing game state. That means what position we're in, how many people are up, are we fighting, are we looting, are we whatever. Right now we're obviously in the fighting phase. The ring's closing. There's a team pushing us. We're obviously in the fighting phase. So here. We're going to analyze. All right, this is a brand new fight. This is probably a 3v3 if this full team is pushing us, because we know again from how many people are left that there's probably one full team, and then everybody else has to be like duos or rats or things like that. Duos, solos in the area. So if there is a full team of 3 pushing us here, this is probably the only full team of 3. This fight is really good for you to take. This fight basically guarantees the game for you. You will win this game if you win this fight. No matter what, you should ultimately take this fight.
One red pushing.
This isn't a fight you want to delay in. This is a fight you actually want to fight in. I can't control. Wait. Okay, you get really good. You get a really good initial damage. So right here, boom. Game state has changed. We're going to ignore the smaller game state that changed earlier by your teammate getting knocked. Your teammate gets knocked. You knock one. This is now a 2v2 situation. This is still equal for you guys. Assuming there's no like loot disparity, but you guys have good kills and everything, so you guys probably don't have like anything like that. This is probably this is still a perfectly fine fight to take. Random gets knocked. It's your random. They're probably not going to be of super good fighting value other than being a meat shield, which is just how it is, man. We're in a 2v2 situation here.
Come down. Go to the building, please.
We're playing with teammate here.
He's gonna drop on us. Don't. No.
There's one.
Your teammate cracks this wraith. You do some confirming damage here, and this is the biggest this is the whole mistake of this fight here. I'm not going to talk to you about team play. We already went over that. Instead, we're going to actually think about you chasing this wraith. What does you chasing this wraith do? This turns this 2v2 situation. It is still a 2v2, but instead of just being a 2v2, it's 2 1v1s instead. It's 2 1v1s instead. So now what happens is if you fuck up this fight with the wraith, this is now a 2v1 against your teammate. Or I guess a 1v2. Teammate has to clutch this 1v2 against 2 people. The wraith's probably going to reset, then come push or something, or just going to pop a back, thirst you, come push, whatever. This is the worst thing you could possibly do in this situation. Even though the wraith is low. You separate and isolate this into basically 2 aim duels. You are basically giving them the chance. You're giving them the chance to clutch up and reset this. In this situation here, I would have instantly turned around. And went to go play with my team here instead, you know? because you know the other person is there on your Pathfinder, right? I'm pretty sure we have the information about that.
Path is low.
Yeah, path is low. You guys,
I'm res.
you want to kind of keep this. You guys want to keep, so in a fight, you kind of want to build like a snowball. You guys want to build a snowball of some sort. So like this is a slope going. So if you knock one, the snowball gets like a bit bigger. If you get knocked, the snowball kind of decreases in size. But if you, for example, if the ramp here, like this is the snowball, one of you gets knocked, it now becomes smaller. You knock one instead, so now it's a 2v2, the snowball returns to the same size. Now what do you do in a 2v2? You crack both. Is it worth chasing both and maybe, you know, messing up? Or is it worth to play a little bit safer and build this snowball a little bit higher to get more momentum? Resing your teammate, getting a third person in the fight, now makes this a 3v2. As long as you guarantee that they can't get their snowball back to where you get like smaller, you know, you want to try and keep this momentum you have. You don't want to try and throw away your momentum by splitting into two smaller snowballs, you know? Because two smaller snowballs means you have to cumulatively, like, you split it in half. You, like, it's like you want one consolidating pressure to put on the enemy rather than lots of small pressures. You want to try and, like you want to play, again, you want to play as a team.
No.
There's one.
I'm saying fuck this Wraith here and, like, leaving.
Path is low.
Because this is just a setup for failure. If that Pathfinder clutches in any way, whatever. I would also say that your Wraith doesn't want to try and res as soon as you run away. I believe you made the call out that you're chasing the Wraith or whatever.
Path is low. He's gonna drop on us. Don't. No.
There's one.
Path is low. I'm resing this guy again.
I'm not with you, by the way.
I'm so
Okay, yeah,
annoyed.
yeah. The call came out a little bit late, but in this situation, if I'm playing, if I'm APEC and I'm the Wraith here, like I realize my teammate is with me, I can't go for the res anymore. Because the ability for this Pathfinder to be a Pathfinder and like get an angle in the windows like that is too high. I have to play. I'm going to try and like keep and like play with my teammate, or at least keep the momentum up so I can't get just pushed like this. Like I want to buy time so that way Riggs can come back to me here. Like going to res here, yeah. It wasn't the bad call initially, but because the game like changed, like you need to not go for it anymore.
With you.
I'm res. Don't. No.
There's one.
Especially if the enemy team starts resing, you're also playing Seer as well. Like you can cancel the res, you can do all the shit like that. Just try and not take. Don't try and just take aim duels and ego peaks like that. Try and continue to play as a team, and do I changed this color by default. No, got it. But like, you don't want to set up these situations. You don't want to be a 3v3, and you don't want to set it up to be 3 1v1s. This is how you get 1v3, by the way. The core concept of winning a 1v3 is to break them up into 1v1s. So you're fighting a 3v3, and all of you fight 1v1s. Of course, if you guys are all mechanically better, if you guys just have like a sheer mechanical difference, this is what a lot of like Predator players do. Just because they're put in lobbies with platinums and diamonds, there's just such a huge skill plateau between the two that they can just do this for free. But assuming you're not at that level, you want to try and like continue to play. Even if you are at that level, you can still make a mistake. You can like, even if you're still mechanically like insanely higher than other people, you can also still miss your shots. You can still make a mistake. You can still whiff. You can still choke. And so just for the sake of assuming you can't get on and play for 12 hours a day, you want to try and maximize the amount of RP you're gonna get here. If you win this fight, you guys win the game basically. Unless you guys get 2v3, which would be kind of embarrassing, but it happens. Like, it's super, super important to win this fight here. Like, this gets you an extra, like, what? Like, 120 RP for all of the KP plus, the first place, whatever. You guys get, like, a 220 off this game, which is a lot. That's a big deal. Cumulatively, over time, small RP increases will make you rank up faster and will actually get you to, it changes a lot, especially with the sheer amount of games you have to play. you always want to try and isolate fights like these to not be 1v1s. You want to try and set up, you basically want to stack as many disadvantages on your opponent as you can. This is why, I mean, you can argue mechanics is a disadvantage. If you're mechanically better than your opponent, that puts them at a disadvantage. You want to try and have teamwork be an advantage for you and a disadvantage for them. You want to have like loot, you want to have positioning, like you want to stack all of these odds against each other, you know? You want to try and like, because your opponent, if you only have like one advantage, like if you only have a raw mechanical difference, but the enemy has instead a like, the enemy has a better position, now you guys are relatively equal. We're not going to go into the argument of like, hey, like we're kind of analyzing this at face value. There's certain situations where where an insanely powerful position will be anybody no matter the mechanical skill level. Like there's some areas in Olympus that have that problem. There's also like late game ring problems that have that. Like you just can't win. But this isn't that situation. We're just analyzing in a 3v3 vacuum. They can also have better loot than you. Like if you guys have like triple white and they have like blue purple armor and they're on high ground, you see how this fight becomes really hard to win, even for like a pro player. Even if the pro player is so insanely mechanical skilled, they can still lose to like a plat player. You want to try and take all of these odds and put them in your favor. You can't necessarily control loot. There are several things you can do to stir it in your favor, but obviously if you get triple white, craft a blue, but then they have a purple, it's like, well, there's not really much you can do there. But that's why you take everything you can control and put it in your favor. Here, it basically just gives each person the avenue to equal out the playing field. Basically gives like in your 1v1 versus the other person's 1v1, like you have more, like you have the HP advantage, but this Pathfinder has mobility. Pathfinder has mobility, you know. Pathfinder has, like, the Pathfinder's the aggressor here. Typically, the aggressor in Apex Legends will typically win. Just because they're the one, you always want to be the person setting up the plays. You want to be the person that sets up the plays, that, like, actually traps your opponents and things like that. I'm pretty positive that Apex here is playing passively. Apex isn't what I would call counter-sieging. So if you're in a building here, and somebody is on the outside trying to shoot you from the building, you don't want to just sit in the building and like tank. You don't want to sit in the building and be like, all right, popping a battery, now I'm popping a cell, now I'm popping a med kit, now I'm popping a battery again and a battery again. Throw more caustic traps down, throw more caustic traps down. Because eventually your resources will be expended. Your resources will eventually be expended, and now this team has an opening to capitalize on. You want to try and counter siege the opponent to catch them off guard and actually like build your own snowball off of it. If you're sitting in a building just kind of like passively playing against the opponent, you're not going to build a snowball. You're going to build no momentum at all. They're the ones playing against you. You kind of have to compete with them to build your own momentum. I have a very aggressive playstyle, and Apex is more passive. You can definitely play more passive. I would argue that I have a more passive playstyle in ranked. Looking to stabilize and maybe get the path up. How are you not? Okay, wait.
There's one.
Path is low.
So in this situation, how are you not stabilized? You know, like obviously the Pathfinder is still like down, but in that situation with the Pathfinder, you both have a 1v1. The path is low, so you have the HP advantage. You know, like you yourself are stabilized, and this is your random. I would also equate the value of a random to way less. Like if this was Riggs, maybe, but with the Pathfinder popping a bat and still continuing to be aggressive on you, I think you make that realization. Yeah, like here, you should immediately realize, hey, we can't do this anymore. This is no longer a me trying to stabilize situation. This is now me fighting this guy's situation. And that's when you try to like, it's a battle. It's a contrast of like momentum and things like that.
I'm not with you, by the way.
I'm so annoyed.
So from this fight, I would just try and understand that the easiest way to lose, the easiest way to get 1v2 and shit like that is by splitting up fights like this into 2 1v1s rather than 2 2v1s. Like, what's easier to win? Like, just on paper, what's easier to win? 2 1v1s, 2 1v1s, or 2 2v1s. You know, like at different times. Like the chart would actually properly look like this. Chart would actually properly look like this. 2v1. You know. That's like the most important aspect of team play. Even if your teammates are bad, even if you're solo queuing, even if you're doing whatever, like it's still, you can still play. This is how you play around your teammates. You realize your fucking like 120 damage fuse 20 minutes into the game is like trying to swing somebody. Go swing him with him. Go swing him. Go swing that guy with him. Go play around him. Go help that guy. Because again, as I said earlier, three people following one bad plan is better than 3 people following 3 good plans. Let's just go ahead and go over all of the things. Basically, the aspect of team play and the concept of like numbers. Concept of numbers and like the value you get by playing around your teammates in numbers. If this was a pub game, I would argue very differently. I would basically like nitpick your mechanics and things like that. But this is ranked, which is a lot more. So it's very different. And then I would also say just the element of like trying to stack like advantages like for you, you know, like the numbers, loot, things like that, like breaking down fights into 2v1s, playing around them advantageously and things like that.